Let's talk about something that almost everyone does, but practically no one talks about with total honesty. You're browsing the internet, you see a health article, or you listen to a wellness podcast, and the message always seems to be the same. Masturbation is completely natural, healthy, and everyone does it. We've been sold the idea that it is an obligatory and indispensable part of a balanced life. What if I told you that the psychology of people who do not masturbate is infinitely richer and more complex than simple repression? What if their brains were experiencing neurobiological and emotional processes that reveal a different way of managing reward, energy, and intimacy? In this video, we're going to discover exactly what happens in the minds and bodies of people who don't do it, and why their path is just as valid as any other. The 9 psychological and neuroscientific pillars, the reconfiguration of dopaminergic reward. Let's go straight to fundamental neurobiology. An orgasm triggers one of the most intense surges of dopamine and endorphins the human brain can experience immediately. It is an instant relief button. When a person masturbates frequently, especially supported by hyper-realistic stimuli like pornography, they condition their brain to a very high reward threshold that requires very low effort. Those who do not masturbate operate under a different dopaminergic baseline. By not pressing that instant relief button, their dopamine receptors do not become desensitized. What does this mean in daily life? It means they train their brain to better tolerate boredom and to find deep pleasure in long-term goals, creative projects, or physical activities. It is not a lack of pleasure, it is a redistribution of the channels where they find it. The energy transmutation hypothesis, cognitive approach. From the perspective of behavioral psychology and cognitive neuroscience, sexual energy and creative/productive energy share very similar neural pathways within the limbic system. When sexual desire appears, it represents an accumulation of biological energy and tension. People who choose not to masturbate often consciously or unconsciously redirect this state of high alertness. Instead of dissipating the tension in 5 minutes, they use that state of psychophysiological activation as fuel for deep focus. This is what we call impulse channeling in psychology, converting internal tension into a driving force for sports, art, business, or study. The asexuality spectrum, an authentic hypoactive desire. It is vital to dismantle the misconception that all human beings experience desire in the exact same way. Within the tapestry of human diversity lies the asexuality spectrum, where individuals simply do not experience sexual attraction toward others, and frequently they feel no biological or psychological need for self-stimulation either. From a clinical standpoint, if the lack of masturbation does not cause distress, discomfort, or suffering to the individual, it is not a pathology. There is no trauma to heal nor dysfunction to fix. For these individuals, the absence of this practice is their natural state of balance and homeostasis. Their psychological well-being comes from validating their own nature in a hypersexualized world, autonomous stress management, and emotional regulation. Why do we often masturbate? If we are completely honest, it is frequently not out of pure desire, but rather due to anxiety, boredom, loneliness, or insomnia. An orgasm releases a potent dose of oxytocin and prolactin, hormones that drastically lower cortisol and induce drowsiness. It acts as an emotional security blanket. People who do not masturbate are deprived of this quick painkiller. This forces them to develop intrinsic emotional regulation strategies. To calm anxiety or fall asleep, their minds turn to meditation, conscious breathing, reading, or directly processing the emotion. They don't anesthetize the discomfort. They learn to navigate it, which strengthens their mental resilience. Elevating the threshold of shared intimacy. Relational psychology shows us an interesting phenomenon in some people who decide to pause or avoid self-stimulation. The concentration of desire exclusively within a social bond. By not dissipating sexual energy alone, the impulse acts as an evolutionary glue that drives them to seek intimacy, vulnerability, and real connection with another person. For this group of people, sex acquires a strictly relational and communicative meaning, rather than merely being a physical release. Desire simmers slowly, increasing the intensity of attachment, partner communication, and the value placed on interpersonal physical contact over individual fantasy. Self-control, autonomy, and the psychology of willpower. For those who practice retention completely consciously and voluntarily, as seen in certain personal development movements or Eastern philosophies, the decision is not based on fear, but on radical self-control. Denying oneself instant gratification is one of the toughest exercises for the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain responsible for decision-making and willpower. By taming one of the oldest and strongest biological impulses in our evolution, these individuals experience a massive boost in their perceived self-efficacy, the belief in their own ability to succeed. They feel that if they can govern this aspect of their lives, they have absolute control over their habits, their vices, and their destiny. Freedom from coercive guilt and spiritual reframing. We cannot ignore cultural reality. For millions of people, masturbation comes wrapped in a heavy burden of guilt due to religious, family, or cultural dogmas. That cognitive dissonance, doing something that your moral code condemns, generates chronic stress and a systematic erosion of self-esteem. People who choose to align with their spiritual or personal values and decide not to masturbate experience a profound peace of mind. By eliminating the behavior that conflicted with their identity, they eliminate the guilt. From a psychological perspective, living in coherence between what you believe and what you do is one of the foundational pillars of mental health. The impact on prolactin levels and mental alertness. Let's talk about a purely neurochemical fact. Following an orgasm, the body releases prolactin, a hormone responsible for satiety, but one that also temporarily mitigates motivation and decreases circulating dopamine levels. It is responsible for that state of extreme relaxation or subsequent lethargy. By avoiding this constant release of prolactin, those who do not masturbate describe a state of continuous mental alertness. Their minds remain in a subtle mode of hunting and focus, a cognitive sharpness uninterrupted by the valleys of drowsiness that follow a sexual release. Their biology remains in an optimal state of readiness for action. Detoxification from digital hypersexualization. We live in an era where visual sexual stimuli are just a click away, altering our brain plasticity. Overexposure saturates our visual navigation system, distorting expectations regarding real bodies and human relationships. Choosing not to masturbate, especially when accompanied by a break from screens and adult content, works as an authentic cognitive detox. The brain clears its filters. People begin to appreciate the beauty of ordinary interactions, regain sensitivity to the subtle stimuli of real life, and cleanse their minds of the need to consume intimacy as if it were a fast food product. So let's go back to our initial reflection. Are people who do not masturbate broken? Are they repressed or disconnected? Not at all. The true revelation today is that you have absolute sovereignty over your own body and your own mind. Do not let the pressure of a hypersexualized society make you feel abnormal for preferring calm, focus, or a different way of experiencing your vital energy. Just like with social media or any other modern stimulus, what matters is that your decisions are born from freedom and self-awareness, never from fear or shame. Take care of your mind and see you in the next video.